Hello viewers, and for the last time in 2023, welcome to the Huddle. I'm Tim Poole, editor of Gambling Insider, and it's been a fantastic year for Huddles both across Gambling Insider and Gaming America, as we've spoken to some of the biggest names in the industry and some of the most interesting executives in gaming. It was a big year as well for the Global Gaming Awards, and as we look at this year review of the Huddle and look through our top 10 or so, and there's an asterisk there and I'll tell you why later, top 10 or so videos of the year, we start off with a big winner at the Global Gaming Awards Las Vegas, Amy Howe, CEO of FanDuel. She was talking to us in Las Vegas at G2E after winning American Executive of the Year for the second year in a row, the first exec ever to win the award more than once, let alone back to back. She was speaking to us about the landscape of the US sports betting industry and indeed online gaming industry, including talking about newcomers Fanatics and ESPN Bet.
Yeah, listen, we're 5 going on 6 years in, so I think it's very much to be expected that you're going to see new competitors entering the market. There's a lot of well-capitalized players like a Fanatics and ESPN that are coming on the scene. We have respect for both of those players, and I think I don't know exactly how those are going to play out, but I think what we do know in the end, or what we believe very strongly, is a few things will matter. One is having a scale position, right? In any e-commerce industry, being a number 1, 2, or 3 player is important because just the economics of having to acquire and retain customers is not trivial. But 2, having a superior product and an overall proposition, right? That product and overall marketing proposition, getting that right is critical, and it's not easy.
Next up on our list, also at G2E in Las Vegas, we spoke to Derek Stevens, another big winner at the Global Gaming Awards, with Circa winning the North America Property of the Year for the 3rd year running. Obviously, Derek Stevens is doing something right in downtown Las Vegas, and he spoke to me up 60 floors up at Circa, all about what it takes to build a fantastic casino and what it takes for someone looking to build a casino from the ground up in Las Vegas at the moment.
I would say the number one thing that anyone that would want to open a casino right now has to focus in on, you have to make your decision today, 4 years before potentially opening. Mm-hmm. You've got to make a decision on who is your customer. You could be wrong. You could maybe change it down the road, sure. But that's probably the thing that stands out to me the most is you got to know who your customer is, and then you go after that customer. And when you make that decision, remember that decision may be controversial, it may be unpopular, but you've got to go after a group or a sector that you're going to say, okay, I'm going to design X, and I'm going to go after this type of customer, and this is why I'm going to do it, and then design and build and hire and operate around that. From
Las Vegas all the way over to London, we were pleased to be joined by the Entain chairman, Barry Gibson. Now, of course, it's been a lot has happened for Entain this year. More recently, CEO Jette Nygaard-Andersen departed. The share price hasn't done so well, but Barry Gibson came on to the Huddle for a feature-length interview discussing all the company's ambitions and focusing particularly on BetMGM, which ultimately Entain still owns 50% of that business, and it's still a very bright spot for the organization. Let's see what he said when we asked him about BetMGM, and he also talked a little bit about FanDuel with Amy Howe earlier on this video and DraftKings.
Very cleverly built a fabulous database of people who liked the idea of betting on sports, and they've been able to convert that into real money gambling very well. As an alternative, if you look at what we've done, is we've gone from a standing start, i.e. no business, to being number 3 and as you say, in certain parts of the market, higher than that. So we're delighted with the way things have gone. And today, and we're talking today, we're just announcing results for the first half year for BetMGM, and I'm delighted that it's making continuing progress. We see ourselves moving into cash positive in terms of profitability for the second half of the year. In fact, for the second quarter, we moved into profitability. So it's a really big milestone for us to get to. We've been investing very heavily in people, in technology, and very much in advertising, so customer recruitment and so on. But we are going to become profitable this year. So that's a major milestone to get beyond. And we see ourselves being a number one or number two player in the US within the next couple of years or so.
Now, naturally, BetMGM is a name that we've heard across both sides of the Atlantic this year, and that's because BetMGM actually launched in the UK as well as a separate entity from the US business, with Gustaf Hagman, CEO of LeoVegas, joining us on the Huddle, once again a return guest, to talk all about that launch. The reason he was talking to us about that launch, and not Barry Gibson or Adam Greenblatt in particular, is because LeoVegas is working with MGM Resorts, powering the technology behind BetMGM, because of course MGM acquired LeoVegas last year. Let's see what Gustaf had to say.
Well, we really believe it's really fantastic, and it's really an amazing opportunity to take BetMGM international and bringing up that brand in the UK market, and combining our technology, LeoVegas technology and know-how with MGM then heritage and IP rights. It's what we believe is a recipe for success, and also an important iGaming market such as the UK market. And also I would like to say that this is just the first step in the wider international expansion. Mm-hmm. So it's extremely exciting times, and we are really, it's a lot of people have been involved in creating the international part of BetMGM. I can tell you.
Now, with BetMGM launching in the UK, I mentioned that MGM had acquired LeoVegas last year. Of course, there were more big mergers and acquisitions this year, and we'd already touched on newcomer Fanatics with Amy Howe kicking off our year review as we look back as she talked about Fanatics and ESPN Bet. Of course, Fanatics' big entrance into the market came via their acquisition of PointsBet's US assets, and as soon as that deal broke, we went straight onto a huddle with Sam Swanell, Global MD at PointsBet. PointsBet, of course, is retaining its Australian and Canadian business, but as for the US, we asked him exactly what it was behind the thinking, and here he was on the Huddle. Let's see what he said.
Look, we've stated publicly that we've been in discussions with parties exploring our strategic options, not just in North America, but globally with our Australian business and our Canadian business as well. Look, it all comes down to what is the right outcome for shareholders, value maximising outcome for shareholders. We believe that this outcome is the right risk-adjusted value maximising outcome for shareholders. And by that, I mean, look, we've acknowledged that competing in the US is expensive. It's a high cost of doing business over there related to the partner fees and license fees that you need to pay, the state-by-state environment. And that does require a degree of scale in order to I think, deliver the economics that one needs to succeed.
PointsBet, of course, a famous Australian operator there, and another company big in Australia but massive in the US as well, Light & Wonder. We've shown you a couple of clips from G2E this year. At ICE, we also did our live in-person huddles, and we were honored to welcome Light & Wonder's gaming CEO, Siobhan Lane, on. She was talking about the Global Gaming Awards in London and the Retail Supplier of the Year award that Light & Wonder triumphed. Let's see what she had to say.
I think it all goes back to our creators, for them to have the recognition. We've been through a lot of change as an industry. I mean, the last time we were at ICE, it was right before the pandemic, at least in the February ICE. So it's great acknowledgement of all of our creators' hard work, all their efforts over the last few years. Not only has our industry gone through a lot of change, but we as an organization have gone through a lot of change. So any recognition and acknowledgement of the job our team has done to keep them motivated, to keep them aspiring to really be the very best is so great to see. And I'm so thankful that we were able to take home that award. So thank you for that recognition.
Now on the Huddle, we love hearing from operators. We love hearing from independent consultants for an objective view from time to time. And affiliates are welcome. Suppliers know all about technology. People who we particularly love to hear from, though, and because they're so rare and when it comes to public appearances, by comparison, are regulators. And this year, the Gambling Commission joined the Huddle for the very first time with Tim Miller speaking to us at the Regulating the Game conference in London. A fascinating discussion. It was great to talk to a regulator, and you know, regulators get a bit of criticism. They get a bit of criticism from both sides. And rather sympathetically in this case, I did put that to him and ask how difficult it is to receive criticism from the industry and from anti-gambling critics who may say that the Gambling Commission isn't doing enough. Look, I know some of you out there might not be biggest fans of the Commission, but it's not easy. And here's how he responded to that question.
Yeah, so I think it can be tough. As I said before, I've worked in lots of different areas of regulation, and actually I think this is intellectually one of the most challenging. At the same time though, it's potentially one of the most interesting and most rewarding that I've worked in. Yeah. But I think it is fair to say that we're operating in an area where the debate has been very polarised for a long period of time, often with some quite extreme views on different ends of the spectrum, but similarly working with lots of people who are incredibly passionate about what they do. I think for us as a regulator, that does bring challenges that often, you know, an action we may take might please one side of a debate, but not the other. You know, sometimes people say, well, if you're upsetting everyone equally, that's a sign of success. I actually don't agree with that. We're not looking to kind of upset people. We want to be able to demonstrate to people why we're making particular changes, why we're taking a particular approach, making clear use of evidence so that even if people don't agree with what we're doing, they can at least understand why we're doing that.
No year review for the Huddle or for the gambling industry really could be complete without a little bit of focus on Asia and certainly a focus on Macau. We were joined this year by Hubert Wang, President and COO of MGM China, who will also be taking part in our upcoming CEO special of Gambling Insider magazine. But on the Huddle, he talked about the recovery of the Macau gaming economy, and he spoke particularly about the sustainability of a new future for Macau really since COVID. Less reliance on VIP betting, more of the mass market, and certainly a lesser reliance on junkets. Here's what Hubert said about the sustainable future of Macanese gaming.
I think the industry structure nowadays, without the heavy reliance on junket business, is also healthier and more sustainable. Okay, right now I think we're looking at a mass segment dominant market. There's a lot of non-gaming activities and programs to drive visitation, and everybody is also working on trying to reel more overseas business to Macau, particularly from Southeast Asian countries.
We're lucky enough on the Huddle to forge good relationships with guests who make return appearances. We've already featured a couple so far in our year review. Another one this year who rejoined the Huddle was Melonie Johnson. Now, when she previously spoke to us during COVID, she was at the Borgata in Atlantic City. Now she's returned to MGM National Harbor, where certainly we get the impression that she feels a lot more at home. And here she is on the Huddle at the property, talking to us all about the regional property model in Maryland compared to the Las Vegas model of gaming.
Well, there's two different types of gaming models. Las Vegas is more food, beverage, room night souls, and conventions. National Harbor is a regional property, and we've got 7 regional properties, and our operating model is very different. The vast majority of our revenue is derived from slot revenue, table revenue, and poker revenue. So over 80+% of our revenue is from gaming. And food, beverage, theater, conventions, that's ancillary revenue for us. But literally, and I don't know if you were aware of this, and for the calendar year 2022, outside of Tribal and the Las Vegas Strip, MGM National Harbor held the record #1 gross gaming revenue producers in the United States, which was a huge accomplishment for a regional property.
No coverage of gaming in America could be complete without a particularly interesting interview or feature on tribal gaming. And on the Huddle this year, that's exactly what we had with Mohegan CEO Ray Pineault, who spoke to us about a topic that overlaps with Asian gaming because of Mohegan's new recently opened resort in South Korea, the Inspire Resort. He was talking to us about the particularities of running a property where only foreign players are allowed to play. Check it out.
Well, the one difference that, we really have to pay attention to is passports, right? You have to make sure that they are foreigners only, and that, they're not residents of South Korea that are gambling there. So, that'll be the one major difference. But beyond that, we're running a gambling floor that's going to have slot machines and table games, and very similar to our other properties. We're going to have amenities like the hotel and the convention center and the water park, similar to our other properties, the arena. So I don't think operations necessarily will be different. Obviously, the additional requirement to make sure that we're checking passports, that we're only allowing those who permitted to come into the gambling part of the facility.
For the observant of you earlier, you may have noticed that I talked about a top 10 videos that we've picked out, and we've just reached 10, but there was an asterisk because we had so many good huddles this year that I thought we'll throw in a bonus. Of course, in the UK, the white paper, the gambling white paper finally dropped, and such a big news story couldn't go without coverage. Cover it we did, and we also invited Michael Silberling, CEO of Metropolitan Gaming, who will also feature in the upcoming CEO special of Gambling Insider magazine. We invited him onto the Huddle, and he spoke to us about his hopes from a land-based perspective for the white paper and its implementation in the UK market.
Look, I'm optimistic on some of the things that have been discussed, but we need to see how they translate additional machines. It's funny to me that I'm excited to go from 20 to 80 when I've run facilities that have had thousands of slot machines, but nonetheless, 80 is better than 20. And the rules around random generator, cashless credit, I think are all positive, and I hope they come through in a manner that's not too restrictive for more customer choice and flexibility.
And so concludes our look back at our favorite, most high profile, most interesting huddles this year. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank every guest and every interview who appeared on the Huddle, because every single huddle we hope provided value and insight for our viewers. We'd like to thank our viewers for listening and watching. I'd like to thank all the designers, all the editing that went behind the scenes, and all the interviewers who did different huddles. Honorable mentions from me also go to Andre Carrier, who spoke about some really interesting life lessons, and he holds the record for the longest huddle to date. Mark O'Sullivan for his M&A review of 2023 of Exacta Solutions. Aviv Sher, Peter Ekmark, Will Armitage is always a welcome and return guest. Russ Yershon for speaking about darts, which I personally love, of course. Brooke Fiamara for a fantastic appearance on Game in America. Michael Daly, another friend of ours at GI. Katina Media CEO, always has plenty interesting to say. And the guys at Betson and Joe Pisano. But as I say, thanks to all the interviewees who took part, thanks to all the viewers for watching, and we have high hopes for the Huddle in 2024, starting with our very first Huddle. It's going to be another big name. It's going to be BetMGM CEO Adam Greenblatt. So please stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.